So today's video, a little bit, they're getting harder at this point in time with everything that's happened. I started to, there's quite the glare from, there we go. So, I started to have contractions whenever I would have a big bleed, and the big bleeds were getting closer together and more extensive bleeding. So, 2 days ago, which would be Tuesday night, I'd had contractions that kind of hurt the night before when I had bled, and then around 2:30, 3 o'clock, I began bleeding and having some contractions, and they were pretty intense and pretty right along with each other. There was a definite pattern to them. And after a couple of hours of that, I realized that they weren't going away. It wasn't just my uterus being irritated. So I went ahead and I called my nurse in, and they'd known that I was contracting, but it was progressing. And I, was struggling whether or not to call the family in because, things have been bad for a while, and I didn't want to get everybody on alarm for nothing and drag everybody from going to work the next day and whatnot. So I did let Chris know, that something was going on, but I wasn't sure what it is. And then the contractions got really bad to the point where I was screaming. I was full blown labor, and then I passed 2 clots that were each the size of a 16-ounce grande coffee cup. Hello, kitty. And as soon as I passed those 2 clots, I quit contracting right away. So I kind of called off the family and said, it seemed like just the clots needed to be pushed out of my uterus, and everything's fine now. So, and I was very relieved because I was in a lot of pain. As much as you would think that a small baby would be an easier labor, it was not. It was just as painful as my, 40-week babies. But I thought that it was all done and over with, called off the team, called off my family, and then within a couple of minutes I started contracting again. And way harder, more violently. I was screaming, I was swearing, I was doing exorcist style. I swear my head was going to turn around and peas were going to start shooting out. So they called Chris, they called my mom, and I, at this point in time, was sure that I was going to die. And then they were starting to do, put in IVs on both sides to do some more blood transfusions. And then I thought I passed another clot. And I looked down, they give you the big old mesh panties. So I looked down and I saw his feet there. And so I delivered him, which we didn't really know that I was in labor. They thought that I was getting ready to go into surgery for the, they were going to remove him at that point in time to save my life. And he came out and he was alive for about an hour. And so I got to hold him and look at him, and he looked just like his daddy. He had his face, and he had his little chin. He definitely had my nose, and that was the first thing that Chris said when he held him. And I have spent a couple of weeks coming to terms with this, because every time I would bleed, I would grieve a little bit. And so by the time that it happened, I was more at peace with the fact that I got to hold him, instead of, if they had gone into surgery and removed him, then I would not have gotten to hold him. So I got to hold him and just see him, and that was, that was nice for me. Everybody else is not taking it quite as well, and so it is hard trying to console everybody else, because I don't like to be touched. I don't like, Chris is the only person that's allowed to touch me. I don't like to be hugged, and a lot of people feel the need to hug me, and they feel the need, and it's for them because they're huggers, and that's just what they do. And I've gotten to a point in my life where, there's certain people that I just get used to it. I know they're going to hug me, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. But I'm not a hugger, and it kind of breaks me down. So I've definitely put that out there with everybody that everybody that's wanted to come visit or that I've gone and seen, I've kind of given the heads up. I've kind of got a standardized heads up at this point in time, and it is, please don't touch me. It's for you, it's not for me. And as much as you think that you're doing good, it hurts me to be touched. And also, I want to talk about it, but to a certain extent. Like, I want to talk about it like I was in a car accident, like this trauma, of just losing all this blood and being in and out of the hospital was horrific. I genuinely thought I was dying on multiple occasions, and I was. And that part, I want to talk about labor and delivery and holding him and things like that, but yet I don't want to talk about the car accident like the baby was in the backseat. Like, I don't want that look of pity. I don't want to hear, I'm sorry, because that's really hard to hear, because you're going, gosh, why are you sorry? And I know that that's a standardized response from a lot of people, because you don't know what to say. You don't know what to say to somebody that has had something like this happen, because it's horrific. But, we all kind of grieve differently. And at this point in time for me, I didn't realize how much pain that I had been in for so long. I had been, from the moment that I found out that I was pregnant, something wasn't right. I was sick and in pain and hurt for the last 4.5 months. So as soon as I had him, that was all gone. All of the pain was gone, and I could then realize how bad it had really gotten. And I remember saying, a couple of months ago that I just feel so much pressure and I feel like everything's going to fall out. And I walked around with this feeling of just trying to hold everything up and everything in all the time, because it was so tender and so sensitive, because my uterus was completely full of pounds of blood almost at all times. And I just kept pushing through that. And now it's a weight that's been lifted. I wasn't able to work, and I'm a very active person, and I wasn't able to do the things that I did. It was just, I wasn't living. I was just going through the motions. I was breathing and eating and sitting on the couch and trying to just cope with everything. So for the most part, I feel great. I'm sad, but I'm okay. I'm at peace with the things that have happened. I don't know if we're going to try again. I'm pretty traumatized from this. Chris is pretty traumatized from this. I do know that my chances of having this happen again are, they're like 1 in 10 and 3 in 10, because I had a previa and I had an abruption. So, this could happen again. And is that something I really want to put my body through, my family through? Although I would love to have another baby. I would love to give Chris a baby, and but we'll see. I think that's about it. I let the kids know today, and they're pretty shooken up, but they want to talk about it. They want to tell people, and they wanted to run over to the neighbors, and I said, go ahead, go tell anybody that you want to tell, because we all grieve differently. And like I said, for me, my grieving process is getting out, and I did my hair, I did my makeup, I put on normal clothes today because I needed to feel like I was living again and start to move forward with things, and not just be in a hotel room and not just be existing. Probably the hardest thing at this point in time is that when you're pregnant, you have this flush of hormones that tells you to bond with this baby. So no matter what, you have to bond with the baby that's inside of you, and you've had that bond the whole time. And then to deliver a baby, you have another release of hormones, postpartum hormones that really focus on bonding with that baby. And so I'm having all of that hormone flush. My milk came in yesterday, and so I'm engorged and a lot of pain, and that's awful to see. See your milk come in for a baby that you are not going to get to bring home, and to be, just reliving that stuff. So I kind of feel like a part of me has already grieved, But then another part of me, I just am coping and I'm trying to get through the hormone levels so that I can go ahead and grieve without those hormones kicking my butt. Because, yeah, yesterday I just cried all day, just randomly. And I know that it had a lot to do with hormones, because on a kind of thought process of it, I'm okay. So if you guys see me, don't hug me and be cool. Just don't make me have to console you, because I can't right now. Right now, I'm just working on me. Thanks, guys.